speak a few words. He is the immediate past president of Indian Fertility Society, and he is a lifetime achievement award of so many organizations: Tapisar, IMA Janakpuri, ISAR, ISSR, and he has got plenty of publications and presentations. And on a personal note, he is a colleague gynecologist, a very senior person, senior to me. From the same institution we did our MD, and I have heard about him ever since I joined my MD in Kasturba Hospital. He is a wonderful person, a great friend, helpful to everyone, and especially to our branch. Welcome, Dr. K.D. Nair, and take over the stage.
Thank you, Dr. Rakesh. It's a pleasure for me to be here in this IMA Outer West branch. You see, once Dr. Samina told that we need LH. We have decided that the patient needs LH for ovarian stimulation. Now we have to decide what type of LH, what should be source of LH we can use. Either we can use a acid-driven LH activity or a recombinant LH. This is already done, and this is also done. Granular cells are the only cell in the human body which are known to possess only FHS receptor, and theca cells have LH receptor. They are both from theca cell and granular cell. If you look at this chart, the LH receptor are expressed on the granular cell in course of time. When the granular cells are smaller, less than 5 mm, there are no LH receptors. Between 5 to 10 mm, the expression of LH receptors start, and by the time granular cell is more than 10 mm, their expression of LH receptor increases, and the receptor of FHS decreases. This is the LH activity during folliculogenesis. It was already explained by Dr. Savina. In the early follicular phase, there is increase of androgen synthesis in the theca cell, and which is transferred to granular cell. And the granular cell is androgen is converted to estrogen, and the LH receptor are also there in the granular cell, and they are also causing the proliferation of the cells. There are different sources of LH activity, and what is the impact on control ovarian stimulation. Basically, SCG represents an efficient and inexpensive way of administering LH activity, because both the hormones bind to the same receptor and exert comparable action, both LH and SCG. But SCG is an efficient and inexpensive way. When we look at the product which is available to us in the market, the acid-driven LH activity is coming at a much cheaper price than the recombinant LH. So that is the basic. There is a basic issue when we have to decide what type of LH source we want to use. The longer half-life of LCG and greater potency, almost 6 to 8 times, than LH also permit a more highly effective and more stable occupancy of LH receptors. These are different sources of LH activity. Either we can use human chorionic gonadotropin, which is recombinant SCG is 99% pure LH. The human menopausal gonadotropin has 75 of FHS and 75 of LH, and the SCG is 95% derived, but there are 30% impurities. The recombinant LH is 99% pure, and you can have a combination of both recombinant FHS and LH available to us in the market. Look at this slide. You see the HMG, which we are normally using, it has 75 of FHS and 75 of LH activity. The 75 LH activity is coming from 10 to 12 units of SCG plus 4 units of natural LH. Does it make any difference whether you are using HMG as a source of LH or you are using recombinant LH? It does make a difference, because recombinant LH is analogous to endogenous LH, which is being produced by the body, and the HMG is often the SCG is often added in an attempt to boost the LH activity to meet the required LH activity. Minipure, which is a product available to us, shows 95% of LH activity, which is because of SAG, and with less than 5% contributed by pure LH. So Minipure has 95% LH activity from SAG, which is there in the molecule. This is the difference between various sources of LH. If you look at HMG, and this is recombinant LH, you can see the purities, the protein contents, and basically LH activity, which is mediated by recombinant LH and SAG, are not the same. They are different LH activities. When you look at it, again, the LH content of HMG, highly purified HMG or recombinant LH is given on this left side, and SAG content of this various preparation is also given. And the highly purified HMG has 3 plus SAG content. 95% again, 95% LH activity in Minipure is SAG driven. So that is what we have to remember, that the LH activity is SAG driven in Minipure. Highly purified HMG has this LH activity which is more potent than LH. The mean half-life of SAG driven LH activity is 6 to 8 hours. Of LH is only 1 hour. And mean biological activity is also 24 to 31 hours. And 1 unit of SAG is equivalent to 6 to 8 units of recombinant LH. So SAG is more potent than LH. If you look at it, it is 6 to 8 times more potent, and SAG is 6 times more potent than LH. There is a molecular and functional difference. SAG has 8 times more binding capacity to LH receptor, and SAG or HMG may induce LH internalization and can cause a downregulation, which can explain the tolerance effect. Sometimes when we are giving HMG, we see this tolerance effect that there is no further growth of the follicle because the follicle has become tolerant to the receptors have become tolerant to whatever HMG we are giving. So basically, SAG is not equivalent to LH. The structural difference between LH and HCG, if you look at LH on this side and HCG on this side, there are alpha chain and beta chain. Alpha chains are common to both LH and FHS. There is a difference in the beta chain. The beta chain, because of the presence of 24 amino acid in the SAG group, where SAG group has additional 24 amino acid, the different carbohydrate moiety, which in turn affect the bioactivity and half-life. So this is the reason of different bioactivity and half-life, because of the difference in the carbohydrate moiety and the difference in the beta subunit. So this is the LH activity from alpha and beta subunit. Are LH and SAG activity equivalent on a molecular level? No. There are different sources, different molecular weight, different number of amino acids in beta chain, different half-life, and different number of glycosylation sites. The SAG has a greater potency for activation of ketogenic cyclic AMP pathways. That is the basic difference between recombinant LH and SAG driven LH activity. That SAG has a higher potency for activation of this cyclic AMP pathways. And how does it reflect? Because it reflects in the sense that there is a prompt conversion of progesterone to androgen, and there is a lower circulating progesterone concentration is seen. If you look at this chart, the granular cell here, and the progesterone is being produced here. The same progesterone goes to the theca cell, and whatever extra progesterone is passed on to systemic circulation. That is what progesterone which we are measuring in our monitoring when we are measuring progesterone. If the SAG driven activity is there, all the progesterone which goes to theca cell is converted to androgen, and then androgen is passed on to granular cell, converted to estrogen. But this progesterone here, it goes to systemic circulation. That is what we are worried for, and the SAG driven LH activity is converting the progesterone to go into theca cell, convert it to androgen, and so that there is less progesterone going to circulation. It is an important thing when we are doing stimulation. We are always worried for progesterone level, and that is how the SAG driven LH activity is affecting. So there is low incidence of elevated progesterone with highly purified HMG compared with mixed protocol. This was a publication in 2016 presented in the SRM, and they said very clearly when you give FHS plus LH or you give HMG, the progesterone level is less. Who needs LH supplementation? Dr. Singina has already mentioned. Again, to go back, we need hypogonadism patient, hypo-responsive or suboptimal response, advanced maternal age, and moderate to severe poor ovarian responder. These are the four categories which needs LH supplementation. Is suboptimal response and hyper-responders, he has already mentioned, either you can increase the FHS dose or you can add LH in such a patient. The Cochrane review presented in 2007, the ongoing pregnancy rate randomized to FHS plus versus FHS, recombinant FHS versus LH. The LH supplementation was more efficient than FHS dose increase. So, when you have a hyper-response patient, you can add LH that gives you better result rather than increasing the dose of FHS. And advanced maternal age, both, she has mentioned that as the woman is advancing in the age, there is a reduced number of LH receptor available to the body, and there is benefit from LH supplementation which result in increase of mature collected and improved implantation with pregnancy rate. This is again age and oocyte quality, the mitochondria viability per age group, and mitochondria is reduced with the age, higher the age group, more than 35, the granular cell apoptosis also increases and oxidative stress also increases. The features of age, less functional receptors, less potent and biological active endogenous LH, less level of circulating androgen. All these are happening with aging. Can LH supplementation fill this gap? Maybe. LH supplementation in women aged more than 35 to 39. This is a publication from LYG, published in 2021, and this shows that the effect of recombinant LH, addition of recombinant LH in a older age group was clear versus when you give only FHS versus recombinant FHS versus recombinant FHS versus LH. So once you add LH in a higher age group, you get a better clinical pregnancy rate. And who needs LH supplementation? Poor ovarian responder. Dr. Singina has already mentioned in detail about Poisson criteria and Poisson groups. And we have this poor responder outcome prediction model is also there. And you can do a baseline severity score when you get a patient. Then you can ask for the patient with the previous ART cycle, what is the score previous cycle, and patient with no previous cycle. You can define this score as 0, 1, 2, and accordingly you can decide what to do with the patient. The ASPART study which was published, they were very clear that there is no difference in oocyte number between recombinant FHS or recombinant FHS and LH. There is no difference in oocyte number. The basic severity score, they identified, again I will go back to this basic severity score, is 0, 1, 2. 0 is mild, 1 is moderate, 2 is the severe. There was a higher live birth rate with recombinant FHS and LH in cases of moderate and severe POR. But in mild POR, there was no difference. Mostly, if you look at this, most of us are seeing patients of mild POR. So there is no difference in the oocyte number or pregnancy outcome in mild POR, whether you add LH or not. But in cases of moderate and severe POR, you must add LH to improve the result. What is the evidence? Again, the study published with Fisher in 2012, they combined FHS and LH, and other group received only HMG. In a protocol, the FHS supplementation with LH appears to be more effective than supplementation with HMG using long GnRH agonist protocol. Then this was a paper we had presented in the SRM meeting. It was an oral paper presented in 2014. We give our own data of 126 patients. Group 1 received FHS plus LH, Group 2 received only highly qualified HMG, and group 3 received only recombinant FHS. And we found out that the number of oocyte recovered and number of embryo transfer among the 3 groups, there were no statistical difference. Whether you use any brand, whether you use only recombinant FHS or you use recombinant HMG, recombinant FHS and LH or HMG. So there was no difference. And the outcome measure was also practically the same. The clinical pregnancy rate, ongoing pregnancy rate, abortion rate, multiple pregnancy rate was slightly higher in one group, and implantation rate. Basically, we didn't find any difference in any of the 3 groups. The studies comparing 2:1 FHS LH ratio over HMG, there have been many studies published, but some of the studies show some benefit and some studies say marginal benefit or no benefit at all to add this recombinant FHS with the recombinant LH. Again, a LBG study presented in 2018, the recombinant LH is needed in unexpected hyper-responder like positive group 1 and 2 or advanced age group 36 to 39. In summary, LH addition to FHS does not improve outcome in mild poor responder. Again, I am mentioning to this basic severity score, you have to analyze, and if it is a mild or mild poor responder, there is no benefit of adding LH. LH addition from day 1 may improve the outcome in older women. Half-life of SCG is 6 to 8 times longer than LH, while the recombinant LH leading to a better bioactivity of SCG-driven LH activity. The French article which I showed, the influence of exogenous SCG activity on serum progesterone level on the day of SCG acquisition in vitro fertilization, said HMG leads to lower progesterone level on the day of SCG than FHS plus LH together. So that is a French article, and we are always worried that when you give on the day of regular SCG, you check for the progesterone level, and if it is more than 1.5 nanogram, you are worried you like to postpone the embryo transfer. If you use SCG-driven HMG, probably the elevation of progesterone in the peripheral circulation will be less because the progesterone is converted to androgen and passed on to the cells. So that is the important aspect of SCG-driven LH activity. Number 1, it is cheaper. Number 2, it decreases the progesterone level in the peripheral circulation. And from Indian Fertility Society, we have come up with a beautiful guideline on poor ovarian responder. It has been published and it has been circulated also last year. And one of the questions of this guideline, what is the safety and efficacy of recombinant FHS compared to urinary gonadotropin? The recommendation was the use of either HMG or FHS is equally recommended in poor responder. It was a strong recommendation. The addition of HMG mid-cycle in patients with hyper-responsive to recombinant FHS is probably recommended in long agonist cycle. That was a conditional recommendation, and use of urinary FHS over recombinant FHS is not recommended. This is also a conditional recommendation. And the rationale for our recommendation was that both HMG and recombinant FHS yield comparable live birth rate per started cycle, and the comparable oocyte recovery rate, clinical pregnancy rate, live birth, and cycle cancellation between recombinant FHS and HMG. So that was the rationale. So you can use either HMG or FHS, whatever you want. The other question was the recombinant LH or recombinant FHS can be combined over the monotherapy. It was again a conditional recommendation. We are not very sure. We don't have clear cut evidence whether adding LH to FHS does a good result or no. Although the systemic reviews and meta-analysis from multiple studies demonstrate that the combining recombinant LH with FHS significantly increase clinical pregnancy rate compared to recombinant monotherapy, but it has to be observed across various subgroups in a longer analysis. We don't have that reports. The earlier mid-cycle initiation of recombinant LH is equally recommended in poor responder. That was also a conditional recommendation. Dr. Singh mentioned when you want to start a LH, it's better to start from day one of the stimulation. And rationale for recommendation was recommended approach as LH therapy significantly increased clinical pregnancy rate compared to only monotherapy recommended approaches. There is a lower incidence of total pregnancy outcome failure. Early or mid-cycle initiation of recommended LH responder is backed by evidence, and both initiating timings can be considered equally effective for optimizing IVF pregnancy or IVF outcome in this population, whether you want to start from day one or you want to start from mid-cycle. You can start anywhere, but you have to add some LH with your stimulation protocol. Thank you very much.